today is social media advertisement and propaganda.
So today's question is, what is the media's issues and why is it an ethical, moral dilemma to begin with? So I believe that it's become a moral dilemma because people are not able to be their authentic selves anymore on social media. They're just playing a facade of this topic of beauty standards. Like, I know from a previous experience, like, I didn't like to post on social media if my hair wasn't done, if I had like a pimple on my face or any like implications that I thought wasn't beautiful in a way, but other people would perceive me to be like, would look at me differently and say there's nothing wrong with me. And if I didn't feel like I was up to the beauty standard, that it was a whole big issue and I couldn't post. I also thought that there was like the stereotypes of what people perceived beauty to be, and I think trolls as well just took the better of me, and it kind of like consumed my life to where I would want, like, I would think about what the trolls have said and then it would affect my mental health. So it kind of made me question myself, whereas I know now that you should never question beauty, as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, or is perceived in the eye of the beholder. Like, everyone's beautiful in their own way, and I didn't feel that way like within myself. It kind of made me feel depressed, like I said previously, and made me just want to switch off and become introverted, not showcase myself to other people that would most probably relate to me. So I think that was morally a big problem. Ethically, there is a major problem within like minorities, especially the young black women and the black community. There's a big issue, such as like there's a war between fairer skinned women and darker skinned women, where fairer skinned women are deemed to be more beautiful and have this high of a beauty standard and be recognized, than where darker skinned women are deemed to look unattractive on social media. And I think that is a huge issue that needs to be discussed. Next question: what is the response from various audiences to this issue? I believe that big consumers such as Target, Sephora, Ulta, many more, they have a big influence on what different audiences buy and like demographics. I know that Sephora and Ulta, they have the demographics from age 14 and above buying their products, and especially the ambassadors and influencers that they have promoting a product or promoting their actual brand can inflict the response that you get on social media and how a person feels. Especially like we have these influencers and micro influencers where a lot of the younger generation will look at them and try and investigate them or like consume their life and only look on their judgment to buy something or to feel a type of way, or like if this person says it's good, then, or this influencer says it's good, then I'm gonna listen, and this is the beauty standard that I should have, and stuff like that. So I feel like it can have a negative and positive impact. In which audience or platform does these issues get popularity or attention from? I would definitely say that TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter have more of a popularity. I would say that TikTok, Instagram have more of, or just TikTok as a whole has more of a popularity in views, as people go on there continuously throughout the day. And people scroll, and when they see something, they kind of stick to it and then try and find other things to search about when it comes to that topic. I feel like then it goes to Instagram, where it's been a trend on TikTok, so the algorithm will push more content on when it's on Instagram. I said Twitter because I feel like influential people get more of attention when they post something. For example, if, like, let's say an influencer posts, oh my gosh guys, you should try this Ozempic, people are more prone to feed into the attention, feed into the popularity, because that influencer has said something and said like good things about it, and that is just called a glorified consumer. And the last question I have would be, what would you describe the impact of this social media issue on society or certain parts of society? I feel that it has a major impact on society, especially the younger generation. And for me, being a Gen Z, I am quite scared to know what happens next in the near future, as the younger generation are being consumed and being able to access so many like harmful things and like view so much irrelevant things that are on social media and what a lot of people try to promote. And like this whole, especially like of the topic of beauty standards, this is why there are a lot of like younger people with mental health issues. This is why you see a lot of young 18-year-olds, don't want to put a trigger warning committing suicide because of what they see on social media. Cyberbullying is a major thing in this whole beauty standards. Trolls, it can really harm a person's like perception of beauty, and I think nowadays the younger generation look for what people's opinions are on them instead of like having their inner beauty and trying to embrace that. They would rather like buy something to make them feel more beautiful. And I also will bring it down to like the parenting and how like we have to be mindful of how we go about parenting for the future Gen Zs or the future generation, because if you're giving your child access to a mobile device where they're able to watch or see like different things, they have access to Google or have access to any social media, that is a big issue, especially like at the ages of 9 onwards, like when they start hitting their teens, because that is when a child is able to communicate and actually physically see themselves.
But guys, we have to come to a close of this podcast. I have been your host Shanti, and we are JuneBugs.
Hey guys, welcome back to the JuneBugs podcast. I'm Reese, your host for week 2. Now, today I just want to discuss how brands actively trick and manipulate the general public into believing there's a certain way to look to be beautiful or even presentable. Now, this has always been an issue since the beginning of advertising, but I think it hits more now on a personal level, at least for me, because the rise of social media, especially TikTok, and watching how this affects people, especially Gen Z, but more so Gen Alpha. Now, I've noticed kids today as well, they have this urge to like mature faster and become adults, especially when it comes to makeup. And I don't know if you guys have seen that viral Sephora Kids trend, but it is absolutely absurd. I feel like kids used to ask for Barbies and monster trucks for Christmas, at least when I was little. But now it's all about new phones and makeup and money, because this is what has been shown and advertised to them. And I used to believe that this was their parents' fault, but now as I'm getting older, I feel like it's more so the companies and brands themselves pushing this beauty standard agenda, especially with social media and rising influencers insisting them. I feel like people started to pay more attention to this issue once TikTok came out, especially the TikTok shop. But social media platforms and advertisements have got to be more aware of how they are affecting these children and the youth. And they should put more restrictions on the type of advertisements they put out. Now, this can include updating their ad policies and algorithm. Many of these advertisements are unethical and misleading and rely on insecurities from the consumers. Now, this issue has slowly been progressing, and as long as social media is around, we will continue to talk about this as it will always remain relevant. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week, and please try to enjoy the small things in life. Go outside more, soak up the sun, put your phone down, just take a break, unplug, stop scrolling. But yes, I am out of here. This is Reese signing out from the JuneBugs. Bye.
With many ads being disguised as regular day-to-day content with small disclaimers showcasing that such videos are sponsored. This sort of marketing is used to optimize the attention economy. Think about it. No one wants to watch an ad, but if you don't know what you're watching is an ad, then you'll keep giving your attention to said ad. This type of marketing monetizes your attention, driving the algorithm to push the ads due to the increasing watch time. Not only are ads disguised, but sometimes the content within them are sensationalized to such a degree that you're forced to click on them. They evoke strong emotions like fear, shame, or envy, and it reinforces this idea that you need to buy whatever content is being pushed onto you. The best way content moderation could address this type of business model is by curbing misinformation and harmful content, either by removing content or limiting a harmful video or ad's reach. Furthermore, transparency about what you're watching and why you're watching said video could help mitigate the harm that could be caused.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the JuneBugs podcast. I am your host this week, Maggie, and this week on week 4, we're going to be talking about story structure. Story structure is actually a very, very important part when it comes to representation in the media, as at the end of the day, it actually really shapes the story and the narrative of how it actually becomes. When I say this, I usually mean by the aspect of with Dove commercials, for example, in order to have soft, luscious skin, you have to use their products. However, there are different ways in which that they change the narrative almost. For example, a lot of the Dove commercials previously around like 2018 to 2019, they actually faced a lot of backlash because of that, because they had a lot of questionable marketing with the fact of women of darker color tended to be the ones with dry skin, while white women tend to have the soft, supple skin. Furthermore, when it comes to representation in the media, it's very, very important to actually talk about the gender roles and stereotypes that actually come into play with that as well. Nowadays, it's just so common to see a makeup ad or a video of a man working out trying to get into the ultimate peak form, only for them to not actually be the best version of themselves. It's very interesting and almost scary in a way that in order to fit a stereotype and an ideology, they tend to almost take away every other aspect of themselves in order to become that type of person. And because of the fact that everything in the media is slowly becoming monogamous, it brings a lot of questions of how representation is really going to be taking a nosedive in the. This isn't because representation is not important, because it is. It's because, unfortunately, the media and the people that are controlling the media do not want to see that representation. They only want to see a specific narrative, which unfortunately tends to be the perfect cis straight white man. Unfortunately, when it comes to the media, we are only still evolving and just trying to figure things out. So unfortunately, it's really going to take time in order for this to actually be something that people actually take seriously. But like I said, unfortunately, that just takes time. Anyway, this has been week 4 of the JuneBugs podcast. I have been your host, Maggie, and next week is going to be Triangulation with Sean.
Hi there, I'm Sean from JuneBugs, and I want to talk about triangulation. In this context, specifically regarding the sources we use to talk about our issue with social media algorithm advertising and its negative effects on teens. Since this issue is very current and ongoing, most of our sources have similar elements in common. One of the most prominent topics is how social media use correlates with mental health. Instagram use and body dissatisfaction, the link between social media and body image issues, and several other articles include that issue heavily. Other similarities across the different sources include the consistent mention of certain platforms like TikTok and Instagram, as well as mostly being against the issue as a whole, having a stance on better social media regulations and monitoring, as well as being more aware and mindful of your social media use. Since each article was selected from different sites, the way they report the issue is different. Some articles, they presented the topics with facts and data like statistics to speak on the issue. The NBC article on teens abusing the TikTok shop, on the other hand, actually refers to real people who were involved in the issue, mentioning different young teens who bought and promoted items on the platform. In some other articles like We're in Micro-Insecurity Hell, an argument is actually presented with a clear opinion on the topic, similar to a blog. From what we can see, most of our sources are aimed towards young adults, especially to anyone who may be somewhat familiar with social media and advertising's impacts on teens. Although not as direct, some articles appeal towards concerned parents who are less familiar, again like the NBC article, or the teens themselves who are being impacted by the issue. Based on the differing content between the sources, they may even attract some conflicting audiences like influencers and users who are actually directly contributing to the problem, or those who are just interested in the other aspects outside of social media. Ultimately, many of the non-contextual sources highlight the need to be aware of social media's algorithm and potential misinformation. We're in Micro-Insecurity Hell and How Can We Minimize Instagram's Harmful Effects both touch on algorithms fighting for our attention and why one should stay away from the negative mindset social media may bring you. Others discuss how society and economy also correlate with social media algorithms. There is a change that has to happen between us users engaging with social media and the advertisers and platforms that promote what we see on our feeds. Once again, I am Sean, and that's all I have for you today on Triangulation. Our next episode will be on the media landscape and business model. Thank you.
Artlist.io.
Podcast. I am Lindsay Carter Early, and I will be talking about media representation. So I read an article titled How We Can Minimize Instagram's Harmful Effects. Now this article is basically just about the negative impact that Instagram has on us, and reading this article really made me pause and really think about how much time I spend on Instagram and how it makes me feel. And I've definitely experienced moments where scrolling left me feeling less confident, especially when I'm comparing myself to other people's posts. And the research and real world examples in the article really hit close to home, and it felt like I was describing things I've actually gone through. The article was published by the American Psychological Association, so I trust that it's coming from a place of real knowledge and care about mental health, and it's written in a way that's easy to understand, which makes it helpful for anyone like teens, parents, educators, or just everyday users like me who want to use social media more mindfully. The article focuses a lot on the risks and downsides of Instagram, like how it can hurt body image and self-esteem, while offering ways to protect ourselves from that. I don't really see much from Instagram's side or from people who might feel empowered or inspired by the app. It's definitely focused on mental health, which is valuable, but I think it leaves out some of the more positive, creative sides of social media. What kept me reading was how real it felt. It used examples that were super relatable and backed them up with actual studies. I liked that it wasn't just all talk, like it gave real advice, like limiting screen time and choosing who to follow more carefully, and it was written in a straightforward, helpful tone, like someone genuinely trying to look out for you. And I do trust this article because it's from the APA, and they know what they're talking about when it comes to mental health. Still, I do remind myself that this is just one side of the story, and not everyone has a bad experience on Instagram, and the article doesn't really touch on how it can also be a space for connection, creativity, or support. So while I believe what it's saying, I try to keep a balanced view about it. Personally, it made me want to take a step back and look at how I use Instagram and maybe like unfollow certain people, or just be more mindful of how often I'm on it and why. And I think others who read it might feel the same. It's a good reminder that we're in control of how we use social media, and we can make changes if it's not making us feel good. Thank you so much for listening. This was the JuneBugs podcast. I will see you next time. Bye.
Artlist.io